All right, guys. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and also congratulations. You just took your first LEQ. That is fantastic. So I'm probably sitting in the front of the room grading them right now. I'll try to get those grades into you as soon as possible. Now, I know you guys are probably a little annoyed with me. You just took your first LEQ, and now I'm sicking you with a pre-recorded lecture, but it is what it is. All right, we have to get this done. We have our first exam our period 2 exam next week. And so I need to get you all the material that you need to know for the period 2 exam. Okay. I will try to move quicker on this one than usual. I will not be, slowing my voice down and trying to go back and review because I want to get this done. All right. So just a quick reminder, we are still in Unit 3, all right? We've already talked about the Gunpowder Empires. We talked about the Safavids and the Ottomans. So today we're talking about that third Gunpowder Empire, okay? You guys have taken your first LEQ, and next week you will have your period 2 exam. So if you're Blue Day, you will take that on October 28th. That is next Wednesday. If you are Orange Day, you will take that on October 29th. Okay, your review guide will be due at the start of class. I need that in my email account. All right, so you can email me beforehand if you're finished beforehand, but you should be working on that. You should probably have that at least halfway completed. And as just another reminder, November 13th is the last day to pay for your AP World History exam in May 2021. All right, so I think y'all can do it, but let's get all this material out of the way. Okay, guys, so we spent a lot of time in Unit 4, and I won't go over this. We've already talked about these two awesome little graphics before, but if you guys want a copy of these graphics, remember this will be on the PowerPoint. If you just go onto Canvas, you can download my PowerPoint, okay? All right, so Gunpowder Empires. Again, in our last class, guys, we talked about the first two of these gunpowder empires. We talked about the Safavids in modern day Iran and Afghanistan, and we talked about the Ottomans kind of in modern day Turkey, as well as in parts of Eastern Europe and North Africa. So we said we were talking about these gunpowder empires in terms of least important to most important. So if we've already done the Safavids, least important. We've already done the Ottomans. We're going to be talking about the most important of the gunpowder empires today, the Mughals. And we need to know about them because they're also super interesting, but they're also going to set us up into period 3 and period 4 and kind of what India eventually is going to look like. All right, so remember, gunpowder empires. We call them that because of their effective, successful use of gunpowder and modern weaponry. Okay? All right, guys, so let's talk about the Mughals. The word Mughal is actually Persian. So Persia is actually kind of modern day Iran. All right, Mughal is Persian for Mongol. The Mongols were actually a tribe. The Mughals were actually a tribe of Mongols. And they actually, after the Mongol kind of invasion and taking over most of the Afro-Eurasia, the Mughals actually were parts in Afghanistan, so modern day Afghanistan. And eventually, the Mughals are going to go ahead and conquer South Asia. So World Geographic Region, South Asia, we're talking about India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, okay? So this is actually going to be the first time in history that India will be ruled by outsiders. Last week, we talked about the Ming, and we said that they are frequently ruled by outsiders, right? Frequently ruled by outside people, outside ethnic groups. Well, India is not so much. The Mughals will be the first time in India that an outside ethnic group actually is going to rule them, okay? So again, a Mongol Muslim elite is going to rule over the South Asia Hindu population. So remember, we said in period 1, India, the majority of religion practiced in India is going to be Hinduism. We also said that a very considerable minority will be practicing Islam. But the Mughals are a Muslim majority, all right, and they are going to be ruling over a South Asian population that primarily practices Hinduism. So you might think that that's going to leave us some room for conflict, but that's just not true, okay? The Mughals are extremely, extremely tolerant. So as we said, land-based empires, in order to be successful, they're going to have to be tolerant. They're going to have to be inclusive. And you see that happening by the Mughals, okay? In fact, one of their emperors is going to be this guy right here, Akbar, okay? You might have heard this name before. Akbar is going to be an emperor that is known for his inclusivity and his tolerance, okay? He also knows that the most effective way to truly rule South Asia is through tolerance, okay? He's going to be a Muslim. But he is also going to try very, very hard to be inclusive. So he's first going to attempt to create a universal faith, which encompasses Islam and Hinduism, as a way to unite all the people. That eventually is going to die off after Akbar dies off. But what you need to know is that the Mughals are extremely tolerant. They might be a Muslim majority, but that does not mean they're discriminatory against the majority Hindu population, okay? All right, guys, so the political system. So you guys probably can tell we're doing a little bit of a G-Persia chart here. So the political system is going to be traditional. You're going to see the traditional ruling system is patriarchal. And because this is a land-based empire, it will be inclusive. It will be tolerant. So emperors like Akbar will be extremely open to the religions practiced by their inferiors. All right, so although Akbar is a Muslim, he will be open to the majority Hindu population. Something that we need to teach you that College Board wants you to put a little star by is this right here, the Zamindar system. All right, what is a Zamindar system? Well, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a way that people pay taxes to the empire. So Zamindars are going to be wealthy landowners, all right? So they're kind of like the lords in feudalism, right? But these wealthy landowners are going to collect tax from peasants. And they'll take that tax and they'll pay most of it to the Mughal emperor, but they won't pay all of it to the Mughal emperor. They'll actually kind of cut off some for themselves, and it will allow these Zamindars to become very, very wealthy. But something that's really interesting about these Zamindars is that it's not super hierarchical in that if you are a Zamindar, your son does not immediately become a Zamindar, okay? Zamindars have to be appointed. So the emperor will appoint Zamindars or he will remove them. So if a Zamindar, scrapes too much money off of the top and does not pay the emperor as he should, the emperor could kick him out. All right, and this is going to allow kind of for a sort of social structure where people can kind of move up and move down because Zamindars can be hired as well as fired. All right, so again, it's not based on who your parents are, but it's based on what you do for the emperor. Okay. The other thing is, Zamindars could come from both faiths. They could be both Muslim and they could be both Muslim and Hindu. Okay. All right, guys, so the economic system, let's deal with this. So the Mughal Empire is going to be on the Indian Ocean, all right? Now, you might look at this map and might think, okay, well, in period 4, we talked about all those trading post empires, the Europeans. If the Mughal Empire is on the Indian Ocean, how come they aren't a maritime-based empire? And I'm glad you asked. The Mughal Empire does not participate in maritime-based trade. The Europeans come to them. So you'll see all those little trading posts, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and the British, they come to the Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire does not create trading posts in other places. The Mughal Empire stays a land-based empire. They continue to trade on the Silk Road, but they will not engage really, they will not actually create their own sort of maritime-based empire. They won't have those voyages of exploration. They will not go and colonize other places. So the Europeans essentially just come to them. And the fact is, the Mughal Empire is very okay with the Europeans coming to them. They saw it as very beneficial. So if you have, the French and the Dutch having their own little trading posts, you don't have to spend all this money to go and create your own maritime-based empire to go trade with, England or the Netherlands. Instead, those Europeans are coming to you. And so the Mughal Empire sees these trading posts as a good thing. All right, they're totally fine with these Europeans coming in and creating trading posts. Okay, essentially, it also is going to make them a lot of money. So the more these Europeans create trading posts, the more their goods are bought and sold. All right, so they're going to make money on this. All right, so they are still going to export cotton textiles and spices. So we said, guys, that in period 1, South Asia, the luxury goods coming out of South Asia will be cotton textiles and spices. And that is going to stay the same in period 2. So keep that in mind for your change in continuity. All right, this will be a continuity. All right, guys, so religion. This is a nice, easy little chart. So we said in period 1 that the majority of the population in South Asia will practice Hinduism. Now remember, Hinduism is polytheistic. It's the belief in many different gods. It's that very strict social structure in which you have to have good karma in order to, when you die, come up in a higher caste. Okay, so the majority of the people in the Mughal Empire will still practice Hinduism. Okay. There will be a Muslim minority, including the Mughal leaders. All right, again, people like Akbar will practice Islam. Okay. There are some other religions in India, but you just really need to know about these two, as well as a third one, and that will be Sikhism. So Sikhism is going to be a new religion at this time. Now, let me emphasize that the Mughal Empire is based on tolerance. It's based on inclusivity. So this religion, Sikhism, which is brand new at the time, is going to be a religion that is very tolerant, that is very inclusive, okay? Now, it will be a minority religion, so there will be less Sikhs than Hindus and Muslims, and they're going to follow the teaching of the gurus. All right, the gurus are kind of like the spiritual leaders. Now, the core beliefs of Sikhism, they include faith, so faith in your sort of one God. You will meditate in order to kind of commune with your creator. They'll also believe in equality of all mankind, okay? And essentially, they believe that we have to be honest and good, and we have to conduct a good livelihood with our families. All right, so essentially what Sikhism does is it actually rejects the claim that there is only one religion. So if you see a lot of these monotheistic religions kind of...
May I have your attention, please? Please release bus riders and in-season athletes at this time.
All right.
Please release bus riders and in-season athletes.
Okay, so Sikhism essentially states that there isn't just one right religion. And in fact, lots of different religious beliefs will be good. Okay, there is no monopoly on absolute truth. Okay. So social systems, guys, this is really important. So you guys probably remember in period 1, the social structure of South Asia. And it was kind of the first time we talked about that social hierarchy in which we had kind of people on the top, and then we had people all the way on the bottom who had no ability to move up, their caste systems. Well, the caste system is going to stay exactly the same. You might be surprised that a Muslim, the Mughal leadership would be okay with this distinctly Hindu practice. But remember, this social system is based on the idea that if you were born a Sudra, well, sucks to be you. You have to die a Sudra. You have to be a very, very good citizen in order to die and then become a higher person in a higher caste. So this is going to really, really work for a group of people that are trying to create order in society. So this caste system is going to be perfect for these leaders of the Mughal system. So the Mughal leaders are going to totally be okay with keeping this traditional patriarchy and this traditional caste system, even if this caste system is distinctly Hindu, okay? All right, so we're starting to wrap up, guys. And that's good. I promised you a short lesson. So for the A on our G-Persia chart. So as you guys probably have noticed, as we've talked about these gunpowder empires, we need to talk about art, because these empires, especially these land-based empires, are going to be putting a lot of money into the creation of monumental architecture. So those of you who are in person in my classroom, you can probably see, guys, my little monumental architecture thing right here gives you an idea of what monumental architecture is. It's really important. It's one of those extremely important definitions. All right. It is when a leader is extremely powerful. They can devote money and manpower to creating these amazing works of art. So you guys have probably heard about the Taj Mahal. And by looking at this thing, I think it'll probably take you 0.2 seconds to think, huh, that is Muslim architecture.
May I have your attention, please? Please release drivers at this time. Please release drivers at this time.
Well, you guys know what time of the day I'm filming this. All right, guys. So by taking a look at this Muslim architecture, you can see the domes, the symmetry, the minarets, all right, that distinctive, beautiful art. So you can see that this is a piece of Muslim architecture, okay? And again, this is monumental architecture. And I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Taj Mahal. I have not, but it's beautiful, all right? And the rumor is that the guy who created it, he built it as a tomb for his wife, all right? So talk about hashtag couple goals, all right? So he wanted to build a second one that was exactly like it so that he and his wife could kind of lay side by side, all right? Now you might think this is super romantic and this is super cute, but on the other hand, you could also think, huh, that's a lot of money, and that is a lot of wasted manpower time, okay? The Taj Mahal was constructed over 20 years. Thousands and thousands of dollars or thousands and thousands of Indian rupees went into creating this structure, okay? And it got so problematic that the guy that actually created it was even imprisoned. He never actually got to see the Taj Mahal when it was finally constructed, okay? But again, you need to know this important art. You need to know this monumental architecture that these gunpowder empires put together. All right, remember, we also talked about the Blue Mosque, all right, the Ottoman Empire created. So to kind of conclude, guys, not all good things come to an end. Some of you kind of know exactly what's going to happen to India, all right? Some of you know that in period 3, things are not going to be so hot, all right? The Europeans are going to do what the Europeans do, and India is going to become part of the British Empire. But before we get there, we have to talk a little bit about the collapse of the Mughal Empire. Now, you guys probably think, huh, things are going pretty well in the Mughal Empire, all right? They're inclusive, they're tolerant, like what's wrong with it? What could possibly go wrong? And that is a great question. As time goes on, the Mughal leaders stop being inclusive. All right, they stop being inclusive to that Hindu majority. And eventually, they're going to collect the jizya. You guys might remember the jizya. That was a tax that Muslims put onto citizens that did not practice their faith. Well, after decades of not having to pay it.
Please release car riders and walkers. Please release car riders and walkers.
After decades of not having to pay the jizya, all of a sudden being told, all right, you have to pay your tax because you won't practice our faith. The Hindu majority is going to be pretty pissed off, all right? So one group of Hindus, who are going to be called the Maranathas, they're going to launch a series of rebellions, all right? They are going to try to overthrow the Mughals, but instead they weaken the Mughals. They don't completely overthrow them. But the Mughals will also lose a large swath of territory in the process. And as the Maranathas are rebelling against the Mughals, the Europeans in their little trading posts on the coasts of India are sitting back and watching with big boxes of popcorn. not really, but the Europeans are sitting there watching, and the Europeans are waiting to see this major land-based empire start to collapse, okay? They're starting to consolidate more and more power, and India is in many ways the ultimate prize. So that is kind of a little bit of foreshadowing for period 3. And again, most of you probably know that India eventually was part of the British Empire, but we've got to understand exactly why and how it gets to that point. And that the answer is right here. All right, guys, so last bit, I wanted you to see this map. I think it does a really good job at looking at the empires, the land-based empires. Now, we did not have to talk about all of them. Remember, you only need to know a certain amount of them, but you need to be able to apply what you've learned about these. So if you ever get a question on your test about Russia, your knowledge about the Gunpowder Empires should suffice. That should be able to help you answer these questions. So I think this is a really good map to show you the Ottoman Empire, the Safavid Empire, the Mughal Empire. We also talked about the Ming and the Qing, okay? And we've talked about some of these examples of monumental architecture, the Taj Mahal, the Blue Mosque, and we'll probably talk a little bit about Edo Castle next week, okay? All right, guys, so that was my quick lecture. You did awesome today, and I will get those LEQs back to you as soon as possible. Keep being amazing, and I will see you guys later.